Everybody, it's Little Prepster here, and I'm really excited about this video. This is just going to be one in a series of videos that I'm doing. I think I'm going to call it the Prepper Dog, and today we're going to talk about why you should feed your dog a natural diet, what that looks like, and how to go about it. I have a she's almost 9 months old, Bull English Mastiff mix. She's sleeping under the table right underneath my computer here, but she's over 100 pounds. And she lives on the homestead with us, and she's a very important, vital, member of our family. So it's really important that not only do I treat her as such, but that I can make sure that she's just as prepared and sustainable as the rest of us. So, you see a lot of these videos online that talk about, your dog should be prepared, you should prepare for your dog, but they never say what that is or what that looks like. And so that's what I'm setting out to do. I just want to introduce some of these concepts that we should be thinking about. So today I want to talk about food and why you should feed a natural food for your dog, and what does that look like. I can say that, but I really want to show you what that looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a video here of what a week of feeding Kova looks like, and I'm going to explain to you why I feed her the way that I do. And just like I said, introduce some concepts that we should all be thinking about, because we always say that we should prep for our dog, but nobody actually ever describes what those are, what those concepts are. So I think it's important that we train our dog both physically, mentally, and biologically. And I want to talk about that. So in this first video, we're going to be talking about why you should feed your dog a natural dog food and what that looks like. Hope you like it.
Making my Mastiff some breakfast this morning. She's getting some ground pork and pasture-raised eggs. So there you have it, some ground up pork, some pasture-raised eggs right there. That's going to be the bulk of her breakfast this morning. We're going to incorporate a little bit of mixed dry food because we have it. If we didn't, this would be breakfast for her. We just add a couple more eggs and a little bit more pork in there. So easy peasy. This evening, Kova's going to get some fresh pasture-raised eggs. So we're going to crack them in there, drop them in. Like I said, like this morning, we're going to mix it in with a little bit of dry kibble, but if we didn't have that, we would just add a couple more eggs to it. Just like that, nothing to it. So this is day 1 down. 6 more to go. Somebody's liking their food. Good morning, it's day 2. So this morning, Kova's getting 10 ounces of wild-caught tuna, some pasture-raised eggs. Like we do every morning, we're going to boil it up, then we're going to mix it with a little bit of dry food. If we didn't have the dry food, we would just increase the portion sizes of the eggs and the tuna. Call it a morning. It's almost ready. It's looking good. And there we have it. Just let it cool off and it's all hers. She loves it. This evening, Kova's going to get some fresh pasture-raised eggs. So we're going to crack them in there, drop them in. Like I said, like this morning, we're going to mix it in with a little bit of dry kibble, but if we didn't have that, we would just add a couple more eggs to it. Just like that, nothing to it. So this is day 1 down. 6 more to go. Somebody's liking their food. It's day 3, everybody. We still have some more tuna to go through, so we'll be doing the wild-caught tuna, the pasture-raised eggs. This is a big one, looks like a double yolker, so she'll be getting some extra protein in her meal this morning. So you guys know the drill. It's as easy as that. And then within a matter of minutes, we're done. And we have some eggs for tonight. Another meal down. Day 3. Good morning, it's day 4. And this morning we're going to give Kova the remaining wild-caught tuna right here. And we have some pasture-raised eggs. And for those of you guys asking why they're different colors, well, that depends on breed of chicken and even what kind of poultry we're talking about. So here on our homestead, we have pasture-raised chickens, and they produce a brown egg. We also have pasture-raised ducks, khaki Campbells, and they produce the white egg. So for those of you wondering, that's why that is. And so as you can see this morning, she's going to get a little bit of diversity. And just like that, we have a delicious, nutritious masterpiece. I'm not gonna lie, I believe my dog eats better than most people out there. And she loves it. My carnivore dog. This morning we got some dry kibble, some rabbit, and some beef. Alright, put everything in, let it sit for a minute, and it'll be good to go. Looks good. We'll let it cool off here in the winter morning. Oh, she's loving it. Tonight, Kova's getting some dry kibble and some rabbit. We're just going to let it sit just for a minute. We're going to let that cool off and give it to her. She wastes no time. So this morning we're doing an all homestead meal of rabbit, ground beef, and some pasture-raised eggs, and we're going to put it in some boiling water just for a minute. The point of putting in the water for a minute is just to sanitize the meat, but keep the bones from splintering. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to let it just cool off in the cold winter morning air. So tonight we're doing some rabbit and some dry kibble. It only takes a minute. And just like that, you're all set. Good morning, it's day 7 here on the homestead, and don't mind my large cup of espresso coffee there. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something a little different today. Kova's going to get no dry kibble. She's just going to get all natural, organic, pasture-raised protein that we have here on the Moneo homestead. So as you can see, we have about 7-8 ounces of rabbit, 2 pasture-raised eggs, and about 8-9 ounces of ground beef. So altogether, we're over 120 grams of protein just on this plate alone. Keep in mind that everything is local, everything is from this homestead, and we're doing this without using any petrochemicals, no pesticides, fungicides, herbicides. Everything's pasture raised, just the way God intended it. Alrighty guys, you know what happens next. Let it cool off in the winter air. First off-grid meal. So tonight for Kova's dinner, we have 1 pound of rabbit and 2 pasture-raised eggs. Nice, one of our eggs was a double yolker. We're going to let it cool off in the winter air. And that's how we end day 7.
Alright, so you saw those 7 days, 14 meals. I'm going to hit this home real quick. I don't want to make this too long, but there's 3 takeaways I really want you to have from this video. The first takeaway is locality, locality, locality. Being able to feed your dog and yourself food that grows naturally, that grows within your crop zone, which grows within your community, is super important. Now for me, I am extremely blessed, okay? Just here on the homestead alone, we have duck, we have chicken, we have rabbit, we have pig, we have cattle, okay? We have lots of venison and elk that run all over the property. I can literally go outside with my cup of coffee and my bolt action, and I can bag an elk or bag a deer, fill my tap right there, right in my front yard. And since I'm in the county, I can do that, right? So, I mean, it's super blessed. We have a river, we have ponds on the property, so trout, salmon, crawfish. I mean, it's, like I said, I live on a coastal town up in the woods. You know, I'm very blessed that I have access to these kind of animals. So for me, that's great. Now, I know for your situation, you may not be up in the woods on the coast. You may be in middle America, you know, you might be in Oklahoma, Nebraska, northern Texas, or you may be on the East Coast. You might be in Florida, you might be in New York, you might be in North Carolina. So I get and understand that your locality, your crop zone is going to be different. So it's really important that you source those animals that are in your crop zone. And you may have more of a variety, you may have a smaller variety, and that's okay. But really implementing those systems into your food is super important, okay? So that's what I want to hit home. Second thing I really want to talk about is why I sanitize the meat the way I did. I love hot water. I think hot water is great. When you put something in hot water, boiling water for a minute, it sanitizes the meat, but it doesn't cook it. It doesn't cook the bones to the point of making them splinter. So this is a great way to build that gut microbiome for your dog and for yourself. Why is that important? Because your dog, you want their gut microbiome to be ready for the foods that you may feed it or have to feed it in the future, right? So I see too many people get on these crazed diets, whether it's for themselves or for their dog, and next thing you know it, they're like, no, I got to feed my dog, a raw diet, so I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to buy a bunch of beef, and I'm just going to throw a bunch of beef in his or her bowl and expect everything to be okay. Wrong. You don't know the conditions that that food came from. You don't even know the breed of that cattle, to be 100% honest with you. You're just throwing it in a bowl for your dog. There's no science, there's no logic behind that, okay? So, like I said, I'm not saying you can't feed raw, but you want to build their gut microbiome. So, with my dog, her gut microbiome is totally ready for this environment, is totally ready for the foods in this locality. I can literally go out to my coop, I can grab an egg, I can give it to her raw, because I know she's had the egg numerous times. I know that she's had the egg in a safe environment where it's been sanitized, it's been clean. I can give her that egg because I know the cleanliness of my coop, and I know that her gut microbiome has seen this protein source many, many times before, and she can take it no problem. Same thing with the rabbit, same thing with the duck, the cattle, the pig, the salmon, the tuna, you name it, the elk, the venison. I know I can give her that, and her gut microbiome is ready. I wouldn't feel so confident if, for example, I go out to Middle America, bag of buffalo, and I don't think her microbiome her microbiome has not experienced that. While it may be similar in some regards, she hasn't had that. So for a protein source or meat source that she hasn't had, you can see in my wariness to just throw it to her raw and expect her to handle it as well as I'd want her to, or as I think that she should, right? So that's super important that we take that in consideration, look at it. Third thing I want to talk about, I really want to hit home, is I want to talk about dry food real quick, and I want to talk about the other stuff that's out there. So I don't do this every day for her, right? She doesn't have, you saw in the video, day 7, no dog food, dry dog food at all. And we do that pretty rare. When I work full time, so when I'm not working, that's pretty much her regular diet. Whenever I'm home and I'm home with her and I have the day, that's how she eats. But when I am working full time and I'm not able to prepare these meals for her, yeah, she'll get dry dog food. And I don't think that you should be shamed, or you should be shamed into thinking that's wrong, or think that means that you're not succeeding or whatever. The biggest thing for me is preparedness, sustainability, and it's training the body, right? I would much rather have a dog that eats, like my dog, that eats dry food every once in a while and does have the gut microbiome to handle the food of my crop zone and my homestead raw, than to have a dog who doesn't and gets sick, or have a dog that his gut microbiome is ill-prepared to deal with the foods that he or she may eat. I'd rather have a dog like I have now that has a strong gut microbiome that's able to handle, dry food, wet food as far as, raw food, etc. So for me, that's more important, the ability that her body is both physically and mentally ready to do that. So don't feel shamed if you still use a dry food. I think that it's important that we feed our dog the best food possible. And I can tell you that the dry dog food I feed her the salmon, wilderness, blue buffalo, is a lot better than most of the people on YouTube that are showing me their natural dog diets, because they're incomplete. And the next video, that's what I'm going to talk about. Everything that you saw in my video, all the foods, I didn't just crack some eggs and throw them in there. I just didn't grab some beef, rabbits, tuna, and just throw it. I didn't just do that. Okay, everything was portioned out. There was a scientific method and model behind it. I have an equation that I want to share with you in the next video to calculate all the right proteins, fats, macro, micro, phytonutrients your dog's going to need. Okay, and so too many times we see these videos that just say, hey, throw a bunch of beef in there, or throw this, throw that, and they don't talk about portions. And if they do talk about portions, they don't talk about what the actual nutrient breakdown of that food is. I mean, for crying out loud, most people that you see on YouTube that are feeding their dog these raw diets, They can't even tell you the breed of the animal that they're about to feed their dog. Because all they're doing is they're going to the store, they're buying a bunch of ground beef or chicken or whatever. And they're throwing it down on a plate for the dog to eat. There's no science behind it. So, like I say, if you want your dog to meet their recommended RDAs, you have to actually invest and look and see what your dog's RDA requirements are, and then make sure that the food you're feeding them meets those RDAs. So the next video, we're going to get into a little bit of nerd science, and we're going to complete this. Because right now, you just see, my, I believe, uncontroversial reasons for doing what I'm doing. I think that, feeding your dog what is grown locally and raised locally here, I think that's pretty uncontroversial. Maybe I'm wrong. I think, talking about building your dog's gut microbiome, like I said, pretty uncontroversial. It's pretty common sense. Not being shamed into feeding a quality dry dog food. Get real. This is reality. So I think those things are important, and that's what this video is kind of there to tell you. But I also think it's super important that we do talk about, okay, so I want to take that next step. I want to feed my dog fresh foods. How do I do it? How much do I give? And how do I calculate that? That's what we'll talk about next. So hope you guys like the video. As always, guys, long live the